Yay.
Good morning. I'd like to call the June meeting of the Binghamton Local Development Corporation to order. I think we're going to go right to the presentation. So, Sarah, take it away.
So I would like to introduce the team from CSD Housing and RSS. I'm going to have them introduce themselves, as well as Liz Warnock, who is the new head of Broome County OMH. They'll be going through a proposal that they have for 1012 West State Street and 45 State Street, 445 State Street, 3 parcels that the BLDC owns on the north side that are adjacent to Canal Plaza. And these folks are interested in getting site control of that property. So this is a first step in just providing some information. We'll likely be bringing this to a vote for an option at the July meeting, but this is just informational, time to ask questions, time for us to kind of digest on this over the next month. I will let Liz, do you have anything you want to say before we start?
I could just introduce myself. So good morning, everybody. I'm Liz Warnock. I'm the new Commissioner of Mental Health for Broome County. I started the end of April. I'm really excited to be here and work on this project.
Dave and Rob. Where need to go is fine.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Robert Kane, Director of Real Estate Development at CSD Housing. We are mission-driven, for-profit developers and development consultants based out of Rochester, New York, working with RSS on this particular project.
And good morning, everybody. My name is Dave Warren. I'm the Vice President of Housing Development at Rehabilitation Support Services, or RSS. And we are also a mission-driven human services organization serving 17 counties in upstate New York for individuals recovering from serious mental illness.
Can I get just a quick question? What's RSS?
Rehabilitation Support Services.
Thank you.
All right, so this is a slide a little bit about CSD Housing. It's an older map on the left side of the screen, but we are in just about every region of New York State, but for North Country. As you can see, we are pretty active in downstate area along the Mid-Hudson and then west along I-90. We do have development that's completing construction in the city of Binghamton with 200 Court Street and Helio Health and a few others. A couple others in the southern tier area we are closing on a 70-unit tax credit development with RSS in the city of Ithaca. We do have some Western New York developments as well. So as you can see here on the right, the slide deck is also a little bit outdated here, but we're actually under development since the last 12 years. CSD has completed something along the lines of 2,300 plus units, just about all regions in the state with the exception to North Country. Current projects in the pipeline, we're ranging pretty close to 30 right now. We're a small, lean team of 6, but we partner with nonprofits and other development companies in every single region that we do work within. So we do specialize mostly in development consultant. About 90% of our workload is predominantly development consultant work, where we're doing work on behalf of our local development partners or clients such as RSS. We work from projects from concept all the way through what we call in the tax credit world 8609. Next slide, please. So you can see here, there's a list of projects that we've worked on over the years. In the last 5 alone, about a little over 1,000 units. An older slide deck, but I think our most recent pipeline is a much more robust unit count here. But neither here nor there. Next slide, please. Some examples of our developments, 270 on East in Rochester. It's 113 units as sponsor. It's a mixed income, mixed use type of facility with supportive housing. Center City Courtyard is co-sponsor with Help USA. It's a larger 163 unit development in the city of Rochester. Again, mixed use, mixed income with supportive. Park Place Apartments as consultants. That's more of a pure supportive housing type of setting with Help USA. And then finally, another example would be 200 Court Street as consultants to Helio. We're effectively turnkey developers on that, where we do everything from soup to nuts, turnover, and leave it within the operations of the ownership group. The reason why some of these were selected were, the type of thinking or vision over what could happen on the 3 parcels of interest in the city of Binghamton. Typically, it's a four-story type structure, or it's a four-story over podium. But it'll give you an idea of kind of the massing, some of the various levels of architecture and detailing of what would be coming. But right now, it's what we're thinking is very conceptual and high level. But figured it'd be a good, helpful place to look at some examples that we've done in the past. Next slide, please. Go ahead, David.
Okay, so here's some background on RSS. And again, we're a recovery-oriented housing support organization that has provided supports to individuals in New York State for over 40 years. Last year in 2024, RSS provided supports to 4,000 individuals across 17 counties, including Broome County, providing outreach, engagement, care coordination, and other wellness supports and services. And we have a well-maintained portfolio of over 52 residential communities. Some are smaller, some are larger, but we have a number of communities throughout the state. Next slide, please. Here are a few examples of some of our properties. The first one is Clinton Avenue Apartments, which is a multifamily, smaller multifamily building that we are the sponsor for. The second is High Ridge Gardens, which is a CRSRO in Poughkeepsie. And a third example is a project that we have in development in Ithaca, which is a larger multifamily project. Next slide.
Dave, can you quickly go over CRSO?
Oh, I'm sorry. CRSRO is a model that New York State has, and it is defined as a community resident single room occupancy model. And it's a model that the New York State Office of Mental Health utilizes, and one that we operate across our portfolio. And High Ridge Gardens is an example of that one.
And so, David, when we talk about the CRSRO, it's essentially a number of studios or one bedrooms with larger, more generous room for community amenities, such as a kitchen, more built-in offices for resident services. So, by and large, when I personally hear CRSRO in the upstate model, it's traditionally a multifamily building, but with more resident services on site for residents with various needs. So here's a slide about the concept that we're currently working through. This originated through the local government unit through OMH. Kim brought it to our attention. I think there's a lot of thought and energy around the particular site with its adjacencies. Binghamton Town and Countries to the north. We have State Street to the west with public transportation. We have Canal Plaza to the southwest. And then the way we look at it is, what are the multimodal transportation options to critical services to residents living within the community? How do we look at other comparable properties and complement those so that we're not, over concentrating one particular area? But then how do we build out the built environment so that we're not looking at a sea of asphalt, if you will, to really offer a more pedestrian-friendly type of corridor for neighbors, the city, the community, and also for the future residents of the property. And as we kind of cobble together all the site adjacencies and analysis and kind of an overview of the general area, we feel very confident that this is a great site for more multifamily housing. On the right is kind of some concept sketches from our architect, SWBR. They're very experienced architects that are also working within just about every region of upstate New York. So on the south end of the site, on the right picture here, you see a concept of about 100 units, four-story structure, parking lot, which is also everything's meeting code. We've done a code analysis through our architects and engineers. We feel very confident that we meet the needs of the new comprehensive plan and zoning requirements within the area. And then there's an outbuilding for more resident services to offer a continuum of services to residents with various needs in the community. In the middle is an easement that kind of cuts across the center of the property. It's for utilities, but we like to kind of break that up by offering a minimal amount of parking spaces for residents, visitors, some green, and some plantings, some passive space, non-invasive species, built to current sustainability standards. The overall concept would be an all electric, highly energy efficient property, exceeding energy code by far. Next slide, please. Some more design features. As I mentioned, all electric design, most likely utilizing renewable energies, whether it's solar and or geothermal. That's to be determined throughout the due diligence period, if you will. Definitely a smoke-free facility for residents and the community. 100% visitable. That's an HCR state-specific term, meaning that all floors, amenities, units will be visitable by a individual with wheelchair needs. 10% ADA are fully wheelchair compliant units on the property, so give or take 10 units for folks with different needs. So what does that mean? Wide door entryways, 36-inch wide, grab bars, the paddle type switches, cabinetry that accommodates folks with wheelchair needs, and then 4% HVI for roughly four units, 5 units, depending on where we fall on for total unit count. For folks with hearing and visual impairments, it's kind of a harsh term, but it's a state term. And that essentially is different light strobes, folks for different needs in life. We would look to multimodal transportation options. What does exactly that mean? I mentioned the term earlier. It's essentially looking at how do you look at a future city with public transportation, bicycle transportation, ride sharing needs, traditional vehicular, needs, but then also mostly placing a lot of emphasis on walking and walkability in the community. And so at the built environment, depending on the green building certification, whether it's LEED, Gold plus zero, or if it's Enterprise Green Communities plus, we'd look at access bicycle storage for the community. We would look at maybe a designated parking spot for ride sharing if folks are utilizing those ride sharing services. Resident services on site to always have a built-in transportation plan, whether that's a sponsor provided shuttle or employee provided ride sharing, where folks can take clients or residents to the post office, grocery store, social services, or whatever else it may be to meet their life needs if they do not have a vehicle. So we look at a variety of different ways in which folks can get around the community and be part of the community, integrate within the community to provide purchasing options for, a neighboring grocery store, which is in Canal Plaza, which we very much like. The other thought here is adding a robust community room for folks to congregate within, hold social gatherings, a computer lab for folks that do not have a laptop or computer to seek out employment opportunities, to do research, to do continuing education, for gaming, other life enjoyments. So computer lab is always a nice amenity for residents with need. The entire building would have free Wi-Fi access. We would be evaluating whether or not the tenants would have built-in heating and cooling. That's typically something that's handled throughout the design and charrette process as we're engaging with residents in the community and seeing what makes the most sense for community-based needs and also the economics of the property. On-site laundry facility. The last property we're doing with RSS, we had in-unit laundry and dryer. I think with this particular type of setting, we'd look at more of a common area laundry machine area facility, but it all depends on as we go through that process with building size, pricing, so on and so forth. The general thinking is having a more modern inspired interior design. As we work through the details of a market study, we'll look at what are the unique amenities of comparable properties in the marketplace. We'll look at what the market ceiling or luxury properties in the marketplace have. We'll look at the affordable. We'll look at more of the naturally occurring affordable, and look at really how do those amenities speak to rents and affordability for a lot of residents to really find that fine-tuned blend of really offering a new and unique product type to the marketplace to give individuals a better sense of home, place, dignity, and respect. More things we look at as a generous and open lobby to really provide a hotel-like experience for residents as they enter, come and go the property. A lot of times with multifamily properties, you want to be able to have strong wayfinding. An individual will be able to walk into the property and feel at home, having, good lighting plan, good colors, a cohesive flow of office space and greeting areas for the residents. Resident service office space from RSS, really coming out with a detailed and robust staffing plan to really identify where does that office space grow into this property. So again, this is a first look kind of unit layout or floor plan layout. It's very early. We haven't done too much work behind it, but we wanted to present to this board and folks that may be watching in the community of what's the general idea and what to expect here. Overall, we'll have an on-site property management maintenance office for ongoing services. Generally look to 24/7 coverage with staff to meet people's needs at varying hours of the day. Next slide, please. So generally the concept mix here is a combination of studios, ones, varying levels of income levels and affordability. One bedrooms going up to, needing at least 49,000 in income to live affordably within the property. This current projection is looking at owner-paid utilities, so gives it a one-stop shop for payment for a resident to really make their lives easier to come and go in the property, build a sense of place and community within the property. And then on the lower income tier of the spectrum, with the 50% AMI units, those will have a level of rental assistance for residents that need that participate in the RSS program with varying levels of services. Next slide, please. So our general timeline, of course, we're here today presenting to this board. Our hope is that we'll leave you with a term sheet to identify key business terms of what we'd like to include within the form option agreement for consideration and vote at the July meeting. From there, we'd like to continue with due diligence, starting off with environmental, some phase 1, potentially phase 2, looking at site suitability analysis, working with the state and varying funding partners to evaluate concept fit and financial feasibility. We do have a back of the envelope budget prepared to kind of make sure that our concept makes sense. We obviously don't like to take on and work on any properties that we feel that we are not confident in executing. And so in that case, it's a lot of that early triage of evaluating utilities, evaluating site adjacencies, concept test, fit with density, and a concept budget to really figure out our financial roadmap. But a lot of that is really fleshed out throughout the due diligence process. So as we kind of firm up those levers within our due diligence, checking, unit mix, design, cost, budget, so on and so forth, we then present a concept paper to the state for consideration of financing. The state does have a varying level of unique financing plans. As a result of OMH's capital commitment to this project, we do have some flexibility to not necessarily compete with the City of Binghamton's pipeline of other projects and priorities within the community. It is not a 9% project as contemplated today to go into the unified funding round that we're expecting to be released next month to then be due sometime in September. And it is not a tax-exempt bond type of transaction through HFA. So a lot of those details, again, will be fleshed out as we work through those details with our various funding partners. As proposed in the term sheet, we would have an expiration of due diligence period in which the deposit would become firm. And as all things go well going into next year, we would reasonably expect an invitation to apply, followed by typically the official acceptance of the application is followed up with environmental follow-up letter. Environmental follow-up letters are generally speaking 4 or 5 months prior to when the state will expect to go to credit committee for comments, preliminary approval in preparation for its board approval. And then if all goes well, we're looking at best case construction loan closing end of next year with about a 20-month construction schedule. So with that, I'll turn it to Dave for any further thoughts or comments. If you want to turn to the next slide here, and then going from Dave, we can turn it back to the board for further discussion.
I think you covered everything, Rob. Any questions, comments?
This is Mayor Cram here. Robert, Dave, thank you. Just real quick, I want, just further kind of a clarification on the HCR low income housing tax credit piece. So this would not be a 9%, as you said. This would also not be a traditional 4% either through
That's correct.
HFA. Okay. So, and just for the BLDC folks and anyone watching, we have this project pipeline of many different projects applying for the competitive 9% and then the kind of at the state's discretion 4%. Jerry Willard in the first ward is a 9%, a 4% is like town and country. So this would be separate from that timeline and pipeline and ability to get approved in conjunction with these other projects. So that's an important clarification. And the other thing too is I just want to make sure that what you're asking the BLDC is just an option agreement, so you can further investigate environmental conditions on the site, do additional due diligence, right? That this site has to be evaluated as a key part of your construction pre-development, and that's really at the core of what the BLDC would be considering. Correct?
That is correct, Mayor Crum.
Okay. Liz, I would also love to give you an opportunity to speak about the local mental health ecosystem and where something like this would support, what the current needs are, and how the city could play a role in supporting the larger community.
Yeah, absolutely. As I mentioned, I just started the end of April, so I'm working really hard to get up to speed with all things.
So you
Broome
fixed
County.
everything in a couple months. That's right.
I'm trying to get up to speed with all things Broome County. So I'm new to Broome County, but I'm not new to mental health and not new to the mental health system by any means, and actually not new to working and partnering with RSS. The last 14 years was working in Shenango County. And we had a long-term contractual agreement with RSS for well over 25 years and had a wonderful experience partnering with them and ensuring that services were being provided to the community. So I see this as a really wonderful next step for the community members of Broome County to be able to have additional options for housing and to provide supports that are needed for the community that's here. And I think it will be a real enhancement to our service system.
Yeah, and I want to underscore something that Liz said, that this project is specifically designed to support Broome County residents. So these are folks that are already in our community who are maybe on a wait list of some kind or not getting access to the services or housing just as a result of availability. So this really is a focus on Broome County, and anyone can correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that the state made this a priority. They made a Broome County specific RFP that was responded to by RSS, who was a successful applicant for that RFP. So there's a state level focus on this, a county level focus on this, and then obviously as the urban core of Broome County, a focus from the city of Binghamton on this as well.
Can we have a further definition of who those residents might be and who would qualify?
I would defer to Dave a little bit on that. He's going to know more about in terms of the eligibility requirements and things like that.
Sure. So the individuals would be individuals who are diagnosed with mental illness with varying degrees. And those individuals would receive 24/7 support services via the program.
Yeah, and my understanding of reading the RFP, and this isn't set in stone, but there's a level of prioritization for how they select tenants. So folks who are being discharged from the psychiatric facility on the Hill. So again, folks that are already living in the city of Binghamton who may not have access to services. Folks that have what's known as an AOT, and I cannot remember exactly what that stands for.
Outpatient treatment. So individuals who are, court mandated to be receiving treatment within the community to be able to be stable in the community.
And to divert them out of the criminal justice program into services, as well as folks who are experiencing street homelessness as a result of mental health. So again, people who are here in our community seeing every day. And also, Rob, I don't know if this was clear, but the 100-unit larger building is 50 CRSRO units, so those specific supportive units, and 50 traditional portable non-supportive units. So it's a mix of individuals who will be on the site. That's one of the compelling things about this project is it does serve kind of a wide continuum. You could kind of step down in supportive services all on the same site. Adjacency to Canal Plaza also means that there could be some ability to, have folks located in that facility. So creates kind of a campus environment that I think will help folks be successful in their treatment and ideally becoming, independent in their living situation. Mayor, do you want to speak to the other CRSRO facilities that we've seen?
Yeah, we took some time to spend some time in Poughkeepsie to check out the site. We also went to what's that? Rochester. That's right. These are apartments, right? These are apartment units that people are living largely self-sufficiently. They're have assistance to make sure that they're taking medicine. There's some assistance to make sure that they're safe, but it's an apartment, right? And it's an apartment complex. And aside from a couple of differences, you wouldn't think it was any different than any of the other apartments that we have. They're well kept. They're well maintained. They're kind of purpose built, and the people that were living there seem very, very happy. Staffs were good, but it's basically just a mix of housing and having the affordable component as well, where earlier screen showed the income levels. These are working people in the city. These are not. This is not homeless housing. This is not shelters. These are people that have jobs, have families that need places to live. So it's a good mix, and also bringing that new housing to there, and the fact too that folks living on the site would have a grocery store, literally next door and walkable, is a huge plus. I think would help out the grocery store, would help out the north side. I think it's a challenge that New York State has, right? We're all aware of the mental health challenges and maybe some of the pullback the state has done over the last few decades. But I think the key is that folks who will be living in this facility are already living in Binghamton and are probably living in situations that they don't have wraparound services that can get them to higher levels of housing or really get them high quality of life. And so we're seeing that spill out into our streets. We're seeing that spill out into our healthcare system, which is costing us all a lot more money. It's also hurting quality of life for businesses and neighborhoods in Binghamton. So, this would be a large investment. I don't know, Robert, if you said what the total amount was, maybe that's to be determined, but nonetheless, tens of millions of dollars that could be invested in the north side. So I, want to make sure that the BLDC members have questions answered. So we have a month to kind of consider it, and certainly any follow-ups are needed. But I also want to make sure that we're understanding what our commitment is at this point, which is an option to right size the project, to do some environmental reviews before the developers get too far down the road. Also would be subject to all city planning and zoning approvals as well as part of site plan and public outreach for that. So this is a pre-development step.
Questions from the board?
Not at this time.
So we will be getting some sort of document that gives the scope and a little bit of more about the financing partners that will come down the road.
Yes.
To understand the whole project.
Yes, I have the term sheet as well as the draft financials. They're just very, very rough at this point. So I'm happy to provide those to the board.
Great. That'd be great.
Steve.
Steve Carson, I'm the HUD manager. I come from my own unique perspective of dealing with housing through HUD. First off, a question is chemical dependency included in the contingent of mental health?
Not specifically.
Okay, I just know there's sometimes maybe pushback on projects because of that kind of stuff. Have you reached out to the NY511, the COC, the Continuum of Care? That's the Homeless Coalition.
Yes, we have spoken to NY511.
Okay. That definitely was an encouragement. I'm a little concerned about what could be considered an increased concentration of poverty in that area, but I also understand the market and the way it is. Where the property that you can purchase for a reasonable amount to create these does tend to concentrate poverty in areas. I understand that completely. The units next door are mixed income, but that is not your sort of forte, and I understand that completely. I just know that HUD would, if it was a HUD funded project, they'd be like, why are you concentrating poverty there?
Yeah, Steve, I can speak to that a little bit. We did, as part of these conversations, I believe the RFP was awarded maybe a year plus ago at this point. We asked RSS, CSD, and OMH to look at other properties in the county specifically for that reason. They identified a number that could potentially work, but upon evaluation of the availability of services, the availability of specifically transportation, I think we did the math and it was something like an hour and 20 minutes from a site that we had looked at in Endicott to the services that these residents would need. So we did ask this group to do that due diligence to ensure that this project would, that this really is the only place that this project can happen. And also to the mayor's point about our pipeline, we're essentially being told by New York State right now that they're not funding projects that don't have supportive services, that don't have these additional kind of sweeteners on them. So this is really what's being funded. It's a priority from the state. And we've done a lot of due diligence before even coming to this board to make sure that this was the option that made the most sense for this particular facility. And these folks have been great about running down a lot of information and doing that pre-work.
Thank you. I mean, that's excellent. And the final thing is, I know this area, it is in the 500-year floodplain, both preliminary and current one. It was touched by the 2011 flooding. And I believe a part of the road was cut off by the 2011 flood. So hopefully I know you said you still got to do the environmental part of it. So hopefully you're incorporating not only the flood proofing or whatever you're going to need to meet the 500-year flood stuff, but also evacuation procedures, understanding the population.
It doesn't help that there's a 23-acre parking lot across the.
Yeah, I know.
So we'll be working on some stormwater as part of the Binghamton Plaza.
I am definitely concerned about evacuation in case of escapers sort of being cut off during a major flooding event. So just understanding the population to be just like a hospital, be more difficult to evacuate those individuals. So just making sure that you're aware of that. And I know you're gonna explore your things you can do once you get started in the environmental review of it. So.
Any other questions from this group? Well, I will make sure that you guys get the term sheet and kind of the basic financials. I'm happy to talk through this in more depth. Rob is excellent at explaining this, but there are a lot of acronyms and a lot of jargon. So we're happy to try to New York Stateify some of this information for you if needed.
Awesome.
Good presentation.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Liz, you're welcome to stay if you'd like, but
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Sarah, I like that term. I'm going to use
the New York Stateify.
New York certified and de-hutified. I like both of those terms.
Okay.
Common.
Thanks, Liz. Thank you.
And Liz, I haven't set up that meeting yet that I was talking about, but I will. I just realized July 4th is next week, so we'll see if we can. Yeah.
Take care. Susan is getting a scone from Coma Bakery.
All right. She's getting me one
Take
too.
advantage.
So can we do the vote? Because I gotta, do you need for a vote? Because I have to.
Do we have just quorum right now, or do we have just one? We have just one. Okay, so Betsy needs to do these votes real quick.
Let's do the resolutions quick and then maybe go into the other matters.
No, okay, we'll modify the agenda just to move to new business and then we'll come back to if you do meeting minutes, that's approval, right?
The minutes is an approval, yeah.
So you've got the minutes in front of you from the May 29th regular meeting.
I'll make a motion to
Thank you,
approve.
Mayor, second. I'll
So
second.
moved.
Susan, thank you. Any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Right to the resolutions then?
Yeah.
The first resolution 2514, resolution of the board of the BLDC approving the proposed budget for fiscal year 25-26. I believe you have the budget in your packet. Anything you guys want to say about it?
So the only major update to this budget is that we have more precise numbers now about the spend down of the bus stops money. But that is the only thing that's really, it's not very different from the budget that we approved last year. It's just slightly more accurate. Everything else is kind of holding the same. You'll see that the personal service contract with the city is a little bit different than like the quote unquote budget that's on the FY 2025, and that's because we do our spend hours differently now. And then we're continuing to ask for the 25,000 in marketing. So that's
The flag we always put on this is that the state asks us to report out for 5 years.
Yeah.
We're not bound to that. That's just kind of our projection.
Yeah, this doesn't always look like exactly what is on the audit. This is just, projecting out because they would like us to.
Really just focused on the first column there.
Yes, the second column, the FY
Second
26.
column there. Sorry, yeah.
Questions? Go ahead, Hunter.
I just
What am I here for?
want to do a reminder to everybody when it comes to the CDBG funding of the budget, understand that's not a set, solid, hard number. It's based off of reimbursables of
Yep.
whether they're eligible or not. So I'll say this every year when it comes to the budget.
Yep.
So.
All right, let's have a vote. All right, let's have a motion.
Make a motion.
Thank you, Frank.
Yeah.
Second,
Second.
thank you, Betsy. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Right, thank you very much. Budget approved. Resolution 2515, resolution of the Binghamton Local Development Corporation authorizing the president to enter into a restated and amended real estate option agreement with Furamar for 22 Charles Street and parcels 4, 5, and 6 at 30 Charles Street in the Charles Street Business Park.
So this is a continuation of what we talked about at the last meeting. At the last meeting, we extended the existing option out for a month to give us time to enter into a more solid option. What you have here is really consistent with the options that you've seen lately. It's a $5,000 deposit with a 6-month term with one option to extend for 6 months with another $5,000 deposit. This is just going to give us time to figure out what the purchase price would be on specifically lots 4, 5, and 6. I'll talk about this in my remarks, but we are likely closing on our first property at the Charles Street Business Park shortly. So that we'll have to work with the agency and say we're the original owners of the parcel to figure out what that process looks like. And that's going to inform next steps for Firemar and what that purchase price and what that purchase agreement looks like. So this is just buying us some more time, but now they have fiscal skin in the game, which they did not in the previous option, as well as a more tight timeline. So just trying to move the ball down the court with this project while giving them the flexibility and the option to continue trying to get their manufacturing operation up. While they're not currently making money because they are getting a manufacturing operation up.
Mhm.
You've done great work on this project. So, any questions about this? Pretty straightforward. Do I have a motion? Motion. Thank you,
Second.
Mayor. Thank you, Frank. Any other questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. That's he needs to leave.
Betsy needs to leave and that drops us below quorum. So maybe we can still do our reports, but should we adjourn the meeting or what's the best thing to do here?
We can still do the reports, we just can't vote on anything.
Okay.
Do we need to vote on anything else?
Do we need to vote to adjourn or is that?
You can always vote to adjourn. even
Okay.
without one.
Okay, just check. All right, well.
No, you're gonna be here till the next meeting.
Thanks,
Come back
Betsy.
done with your text and then we'll adjourn.
I'll
Thanks,
email you
Betsy.
separately, so then you can get me his.
Okay, great, thank you.
Officially lost quorum at 9:56, so we are no longer taking action as a board.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, Betsy.
You put them in the nuggets.
We'll go back to the treasurer's report.
Yes.
But we don't need to vote on the treasurer's
No.
report, just FYI.
Just a report.
You wanna have this? Yeah, sure. Let's just split this. Are you sure? Let's pause it.
Oh, it's adorable.
Somebody can take a picture of the
Get a
first.
picture.
Let's just. we have
Saving
a-
room for wings.
Yeah, you have a.
Split it in half. I'll eat half of it.
So to the treasurer's report, on page 4, we'll begin with the restricted account.
That's your half.
End of month balance in restricted is $531,498.04. No activity in restricted. In the UDAG account, the end of month balance was $335,105.85. No major stuff going on in that. So there's like property abatement, for instance, like what on some things. All of the payments are coming in right along. No new delinquencies. In the unrestricted account, we had some recent payments of some people's deposits for their options. Using that in unrestricted, everybody's caught up on their deposits for their options. There is no activity in the mayor's Veterans Initiative account, no activity in the Sky account. Or I guess the pass through did come through.
Yep.
In the last month. New activity and no activity gains planned. Same delinquencies as we have had, so effective at the May, the delinquency percentage for all loans not designated as not performing was 0.24.
Question? Thank you, Rachel. No questions. No questions. Come on, Frank. And thank you for your work on the budget as well. Whomever participated in that,
Rachel and Rachel.
because I know how much fun that is.
It's a pretty easy budget. Putting it into Paris is
This
the
that's
complicated.
exactly where I was going. I know how those systems are. They're not fun.
Anything that anybody else wants to say?
Wow.
Well, we can't really do it, well, whatever. So let's just adjourn. Can I just adjourn, Counselor?
Oh,
You're not gonna have the mayor's.
Oh, I'm
remarks?
sorry. I'm
What
sorry.
about Sarah's
I can't
remarks?
believe
You
that.
can
I'm
skip
sorry.
mine.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Mayor.
I don't have a lot. We had a very
So rude of me.
successful Clinton Street neighborhood revitalization meeting, downtown revitalization meeting last night.
Wonderful.
I would say probably at its peak, about 75 people
Nice.
were there. Amazing vibe, amazing diversity of folks, longtime First Ward residents, newcomers, very excited about Clinton Street, very enthusiastic about changes that they want to see. I would say, I've been doing this a long time, and I say it was probably the best public hearing or public engagement session that I've gone to. It
Fantastic.
was palpable, and there is a very, very clear vision, I think, forming about what Clinton Street can be. And it's great. I couldn't be more excited. And I think the folks that are involved at the state level and consultants who've been doing DRIs for a lot of different communities found that Clinton Street is different. We have a gem here. So we're excited. The project proposals will be being accepted, and there's a deadline of August 15th. So we will be putting out the word to get anyone and everyone who wants to apply to get in either a letter of intent, which is required for projects less than 75,000, and then projects that are more than 75,000 require a full application. So we'll get the word out, but it was great. It was definitely a shot in the arm for Clinton Street last night, and couldn't say enough good things about it. That's all I have.
Mayor, could you let me know how you did outreach? Because I cannot get people to come to these meetings.
It's easier when you have $10 million to give away.
That's true.
Like that.
I only got like 2 million. It's still, I can't seem to get people to care and come to the meeting.
We did direct mail, which is not always an option, because it's just quite expensive,
Yeah.
but we have a budget through the DRI process. But yeah, we did cards to about 300 people. And then just we did a couple of press releases, a bunch of stuff on Facebook. I believe the consultants may have done some paid advertising as well on social media. So it's a pretty big push, but definitely the $10 million hook was the big thing. Yep.
I can do that. Okay, thank you.
That was definitely taking up most of the oxygen in the room for the past few weeks. I'm just looking through what else I got going on. Boscov's is coming along. We should be able to finish out the actual garage project shortly, including the walkway that goes between the 3rd floor of the garage and the 2nd floor of Boscov's. I'm waiting on an update from LaChase, but they have been advancing the bids for all of the mechanical equipment. HVAC units. If you've been on the top floor of Boscov's, you know that it's very hot. I bet the last few days were not comfortable. So that's a really, really needed thing, and I'll be able to provide more updates as we go along. But rest assured that in the background, things are happening. It's CFA season, consolidated funding application season. So we're putting together a number of grant proposals, including a downtown anchor grant for a project at 121 Court Street, the old rug shop, currently vacant. I've been inside it. I admire developers who have the ability to go into something that is that degraded and see the vision and see the possibility of what it could become. The owner is looking at a light industrial, light assembly use on the 1st floor, which would be really exciting. As we know, Retail is really tricky right now. We're just seeing a change in the mix of downtowns post-COVID. So kind of having someone who's looking at different options, employment options, how do we get people downtown? I think that block to the east of the traffic circle has a lot of potential, and there's a lot of new folks on the street over there who are engaged and want to work with the city. I think to better connect to downtown and get people moving east. 200 Court Street, as the folks mentioned, big housing project on that Court Street corridor there. There was just an article in the paper the other day. They should have their first tenants in September. So we've been working really closely with them to make sure that the opening goes really smoothly. There's a lot going on. It's hard to keep track of sometimes, hard to keep track of my schedule. My staff never knows where I am. But I really appreciate all of this board support. And Craig serves on the LPC, the local planning committee, for that DRI effort. He was great yesterday. Really appreciated all of your feedback. And if there's any, more detailed questions that anybody has, the BLDC will be participating in an access to capital event that I've been working on with Susan and Tay with State Bank to connect project owners in the DRI area with financial institutions. All of these projects require bridge financing, which is always really tricky, especially with people who have never been through a grant process before. So trying to make it as smooth as possible for the residents. And I second the mayor's feelings on how last night went. It was really nice to see.
I had a number of people ask me if we would be providing assistance with that.
Yes,
of course, even my cards.
Yeah, there's a lot of assistance available. There'll be a technical assistance webinar in July on both the decarbonization requirements for large projects, as well as a separate webinar on the application. It's a very light application compared to the ones that we fill out for our grant projects. It's really just to get things in the pipeline. And then that's the bulk of what the consultants on the project get paid for, is to support people in developing actual cost estimates, renderings, helping do some of that pre-development work that meets the state standards so that they can be successful in deploying projects.
There are a lot of communities that have had difficulty over the years attracting projects for the DRIs. This is not going to be the case.
And that is to be commended, because, speaking locally, there are still projects that have not come to fruition on some other DRIs, and I have no doubt that we're going to have a full slate for Clinton Street, and just the level of professionalism, the level of dedication that has come out of this is really to be commended. And just to speak a little bit on the financing side, the challenge is, we've got a prospect who's ready to go now. They can't wait for this, but that doesn't preclude them from going forward. So there's, it is a matter of timing, and there is from a banking perspective, from a finance perspective, we're not going to lend to something that they're going to get reimbursed for 2 years from now. It's just not going to happen. But if the project itself is palatable and the entity has the wherewithal to move forward, that doesn't mean that it won't go forward. So that's just an important piece of the puzzle, that people are not scared to move forward because they might have to wait, if that makes sense, because there's just too many pieces of the puzzle to make it happen.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that we want this access to capital event to get at, is what banks might be willing to give a letter of intent, like who has the wherewithal to do that, who's worked on some of these long timeline projects before, and just trying to match projects with banks and develop those relationships, specifically with our community banks. That's a big issue in our area, that we have a lot of people that are going to online banks. They're not banking with their community banks. They're not going into a physical branch, and physical branches have all sorts of benefits in terms of financial support and investment opportunities. So trying to bring some of those people back into the fold with our community banks, which is really important for the health of our local economy.
That's great.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. I'll second.
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
We can't vote.
Thank you all.